Hey guys, and welcome back to the Courageous Nerd YouTube channel for another interview. I'm Connor, and joining me is Gianni DeCenzo from Cobra Kai to chat all about playing Demetri, as well as his wider career to date. If you enjoyed this interview or the others on the channel, please be sure to like and subscribe. So welcome Gianni, and thanks for taking the time to speak with me today.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe you're 19, is that right?
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
19 and turning 20 this October.
Okay,
So
well, I guess early happy 20th for when that comes. But
thank you.
yeah, just to kind of like bring out that you've already like I guess accomplished quite a lot at a relatively young age. But like, was acting always the path you wanted to take?
I've been acting since I was about 8 years old.
Mm,
So I've been doing it for I guess 11 years now. So
right.
it's been a big part of my life, definitely. And the reason why I got into it was like, my parents, they actually met in an acting class, and then my dad
Okay.
proposed in that acting class. And so it's just kind of always been a part of the family. And then one day I kind of just walked up to my parents and asked when I was going to be on TV. So
Mm,
the rest is history there. My mom, she just kind of took pictures of me in our backyard with my best little button up, and
right.
sent it out to short films at the time. Like we submitted a lot of stuff ourselves.
Mm,
And from there, we got, a bit of a film reel that we could show to agents and managers. And yeah, here I am now.
wow. Yeah.
I'm very happy with the path I took.
Yeah. That's an awesome story though about your parents as well, because who knows like what direction life can take you. And
Mm.
yeah, I mean that's definitely a cool thing to have in your back pocket just to bring up because it makes it almost feel like fate, doesn't it? I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a big part of the family. They tried to get my brother into acting when he
Mm,
was real young, but during one of he had gotten a commercial, I think, but during that commercial, they put a wig on him, and my brother hates wigs, especially
right.
as a child. So he just kept ripping it off, and they're
Mm,
like, "Yeah, this might not be for him."
right.
Me, on the other hand, if you want to put a wig on me, I will wear that wig. It may not be
Yeah.
comfortable, but I'll do it.
I mean, I guess maybe like aside from wigs, something you have put on is a karate gi for Cobra Kai on
Yes.
Netflix. Yeah,
Yes.
and well, it was originally on YouTube Premium. It's now on Netflix. But I
Mhm.
suppose because like you became a series regular a bit later into it, but like how
Mhm.
much about like Dimitri's long-term future were you told about going in because he was like a smaller character at first?
Mm. I didn't really know anything about Demetri going into it, especially
Mm,
in season one.
right.
Like you said, I became like a series regular later on. So in season one, I was a recurring. Then
Mm,
season two and beyond, I'm a series regular. And like going into season one, I didn't even know how big this show was going to be, or like how criticized it could be. Like
right.
I realized after it came out and it was a success that people were expecting for it to fail. And so I'm kind of glad I didn't know that when I was filming, because I'd definitely be a little bit nervous.
Mm,
But I'm really excited to see where Demetri goes further. And, it's just been great to kind of develop the character over time, because especially on a long running series like this, the
right.
character kind of becomes its own person.
Mm.
It just comes to life. And yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I suppose that because of the nature of the storyline and like these whole like feuding like karate factions, that there's quite a few of you like around the same age. Like, did you know anyone beforehand? Like, who was also on the show?
No one. See, yeah, okay. So like normally with acting, and when you grow up in acting, you'll see a lot of people like from your auditions that you'll kind of like audition for the same thing, and so you'll run into
Right.
each other in the waiting room and stuff like that. I didn't know anybody. Well, actually, wait, no, that's not true.
Mm.
I actually knew Mary Mauser, who plays Sam.
Right.
She
Okay.
she and I, like, we filmed a pilot episode. It never took off. It was for a show called Saint Francis, and she actually played my older sister.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's the one person I did know. And that was really kind of freaky, because on the very first day, I was like 16 years old. I was with my mom.
Mm.
I didn't recognize her. She didn't recognize me, but my mom, she actually pointed her out. And so, yeah, we had worked together in the past, and we didn't even realize it until halfway through filming. So that was interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than her, I didn't really know anyone.
Yeah, because I was going to ask whether that was a coincidence that they kind of put you with more scenes together like later on, but I guess it was
Hmm.
if you didn't really, you know, um, carry over any kind of relationship from St. Francis into Cobra Kai, right? It just was a coincidence.
It's yeah, I think it was just a coincidence. I was really young at the time. I think I was like 8 or something, 8 years
Right.
old. I think. Well, no, maybe 10. I don't know.
Hmm.
Somewhere there. I was a little youngling. That's
Right.
all I
Yeah. And I suppose just because, I mean, I know on screen, like I guess as a character, Demetri stands out, and I imagine that would also like be true like on the page. So was this a character like you could see yourself playing immediately, or did you kind of have to like wrap your head around who this guy was and try and get into it that way?
I think I think it was a pretty like fluid transition
Hmm.
because the audition, the scene I auditioned with was the cafeteria scene, the very first time we meet Demetri. And I don't know, I think it was so long ago, but I think I just kind of went with it because there's a
Hmm.
lot of pieces of Demetri that, I can see with myself, and then there
Right.
there are obviously some differences, but I always try to bring a piece of myself to every character I play. And yeah, I think it was a pretty smooth thing. I just went in there, I auditioned, I think I read it twice, they gave me a little note, I tweaked it a bit, and yeah, there we go. The audition process was actually really weird for me.
Hmm.
Normally on something like this, you have to do like callbacks and like test reads, chemistry reads, stuff like that. But they had been looking for my part for such a long time that the time I auditioned, it was actually going to be filming the very next week.
Oh,
So yeah, they needed someone like right then and there.
right.
So I
Yeah.
didn't even do any callbacks or anything. I just did my first audition. Like I said, I read it twice, and then they were like, "All right, great, fly to Georgia." And that was like the first time I had ever had to film anything outside of California. So it was a very, very new and wild experience right then and there. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah, and I suppose like in terms of like the show's storyline, I suppose Dimitri and another character, that being Eli Moskowitz,
Mm,
or played by Jacob Bertrand, they're kind
mm,
of like intrinsically linked. You can't really talk about one without talking about the other. And I mean,
yeah.
I know like obviously you think of their storyline like friends drifting apart because like different interests. That's not uncommon, but obviously
Mm,
this was particularly violent and kind of maybe to some people a bit upsetting. But
a
like,
bit.
what do you think like the loss of that friendship meant to Dimitri? Because obviously we can't read his mind, but
Mm,
you know,
yeah. Um, yeah. It was a very hard loss for Dimitri because when we first meet him, his only friend is Eli. They
mm,
sit at the table together, they cosplay together. We find out that they went to coding, computer camp together. They did everything together.
right,
And yeah, to lose like your best friend, like the only friend you have growing up in high school and throughout school, is like, that's never fun. That's
right,
yeah,
yeah,
that's yeah. It was definitely hard on him. Luckily, he was starting to make some more friends, and he was starting to get more confident in who he was with the
mm,
karate and stuff like that. He started to realize, hey, maybe I don't have to play the long game as much.
mm,
Maybe I can be, a badass. Like not a total badass, but somewhat of one. Um, and it's yeah, but it was still really hard, especially when you know Eli broke his arm.
yeah,
That yeah, like you said, it's people drift apart, but it's never as violent as
right,
breaking each other's arms. And that was, a little bit rough there. That kind of showed like, okay, maybe there really isn't too much hope for this friendship, but luckily Eli kind of comes back at the end of yeah.
yeah, yeah. No, because I was going to bring up that like whole scene of the arm being broken, and I think you can definitely feel it because he says, like Dimitri, I should say, says, Eli, it's me.
Yeah.
Like as it trying to make him register something like, it's me. What are you doing? You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
yeah, I certainly felt that, like, the meaning behind it,
yeah.
because I
Yeah.
think if it had been anyone else, he wouldn't have had that hesitation. He probably would have just, you know,
Yes,
done it.
yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And the fact that we see him hesitating is like, okay, maybe there is some hope. Like he's not a total monster. He's not just gonna be like, oh,
Mm,
just break that arm, snap it like a toothpick. my toothpick arms. But yeah, it was still kind of a hard thing for him to do, and that kind of shows like, okay, he's not totally gone. And
Mm.
yeah, that's Demetri trying to plead for his arm to be saved. It's me,
Yeah.
buddy. We literally grew up together. Come on, I gave you a waterbed.
Mm.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, even in his flashback, in Eli's flashback, he was saying, "I'm not gonna have any friends, like, but Dimitri. Like, Dimitri's always going to be a given. Like,
Mm,
I'm always gonna have Dimitri, but I'm not gonna have anyone else." And I
mm,
don't know how close to that episode with the arm breaking that flashback was, but certainly when
mm,
you put those two together, it's rough.
yeah.
It's rough, just in general, I guess. But
Mm,
I suppose, like, on a lighter note, a different relationship in the show, because I would say Dimitri kind of in some ways mirrors Daniel LaRusso and kind of like his
mm,
reasoning for getting into karate and like
mm,
the whole thinking behind why he's doing it.
mm,
And obviously, like, because Dimitri at first was like, a bit hesitant towards karate. He wasn't really into it as much as his friends. But like,
right.
why do you think Daniel was able to like bond with him? And did you and Ralph Macchio have any like discussions about developing that sensei student dynamic?
Mm. Well, we always just try to like stay close on the set. We always like to laugh and have fun in between, and we do obviously talk about it before going into it. We'll have rehearsals and stuff like that.
Mm,
But I think the reason why Daniel was able to break through to Dimitri so much is because Daniel's kind of a nerd at heart.
right.
Yeah, like Dimitri and Daniel are basically the same. It's like if Dimitri grew up, that's Dimitri in 20 years or something like that.
Mm,
It's just kind of like a nerd to nerd, especially when he starts referencing Game of Thrones and stuff like that. He's like, "Oh,
yeah.
okay, you're a nerd? Great, help me." And it just also kind of gives Dimitri hope because he sees like if Daniel can make it in this world and like flourish, then maybe I can too. And if he can win these, all valley tournaments and hold his own against like a group of bullies, that kind of shows Dimitri like, okay, all right, fine. Maybe
Mm,
I don't need to take quite so much of a flag football approach to things. Maybe shred up the worksheets. I can actually do the drills. And it's just kind of great because Daniel, he's such a great sensei. He knows how to get through to his students. He takes a different approach with each one. And with Dimitri, he definitely took a more like, okay, we'll step back for a second. We're gonna try to
mm.
figure out like how you want to do this. We don't have to like rush through it. So yeah, it's yeah.
Yeah, and obviously that kind of like nerdy aspect is like a big
Mm,
part of Dimitri's character. And again,
mm,
like, this is coming from a guy who runs Courageous Nerds. I definitely appreciate all those like references and stuff that he
yeah.
says, or I guess spouts out. But like, from your like perspective, like in terms of his impact, like, are people like reached out to you about like Dimitri, whether it's like people who've been bullied or like just people who like karate and are like, oh, pretty cool, the show or
Mm.
whatever. But
It's yeah, there's been a lot of people like saying, as far as getting bullied in high school, that Dimitri kind of helps them realize like, okay, I can stand up for myself and it's not gonna be like all that bad because Dimitri, he's gone through the worst of it. Not only has he been bullied, but he's been
mm,
bullied by a gang of karate experts, which is
right.
like just the worst scenario you could possibly have growing up in high school. And me personally growing up, I was never like the most popular kid in school. So I get it. I know what it's
Mm,
like to kind of be made fun of growing up.
yeah.
It's definitely some stuff that I, bring to Dimitri myself. But the fact that I can kind of show other kids like, it's not all that bad and that it can be better, is just really helpful because, I definitely wish I had something like that growing up to kind of show me like it can be good, you know?
Mm,
I'm just glad that I could help kids realize that.
yeah. And I mean, it's such a specific problem to have, like all this karate just,
Mhm.
going on all over the place. Like, some of them, I guess maybe before even Miguel arrived, that it was kind of like, karate wasn't like a huge thing. Now suddenly like all these,
Yeah.
things all over the place. And, again, it's like, I don't think it's a problem people in real life can necessarily be like, oh yeah, I've got the exact thing happening. Like there's a
I'd be
karate
concerned if
gang
that
war
was like
in
the
my
same
school,
issue. Yeah.
But,
That would
but
be concerning.
yeah, but I mean, but I think obviously, Dimitri is very relatable as a character, and I think there are qualities people probably seeing him. And yeah, I mean, just speaking like, for myself, I think that would probably be why he's become like so popular in at the fan base, I suppose.
Yeah. He's just like the nerd that shows other nerds like, hey, it's not terrible. We can fight back too. We may not be as strong, but
Yeah.
we got one brain muscle, right? Yeah. That's what we got.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I suppose it's like on a similar tangent of like Easter eggs and like references and stuff. Like, do the stuff that relates back to the Karate Kid, does it go over your head, or were you like a big enough fan where you can appreciate, oh, that's what they're referring to, or when they brought back people in like cameo roles, like when they went to Okinawa, like was that stuff resonating? Or yeah.
I knew like about like the different cameos and stuff like that and all the Easter eggs. So before getting the Cobra Kai, I had seen like Karate Kid 1 and 2 and I think 3. But it was never like my biggest thing growing up just because it's not from my generation. Like my dad, he watched that stuff growing up and that was like his big thing. And I always liked it, but it just wasn't like my generation of things.
Right.
But yeah, I'm definitely like a fan of the Karate Kid series, and I definitely see the cheeky little Easter eggs that they throw in here and there. And sometimes I do have to like reference, like I have to look them up, stuff like that. But I know nothing gets past this guy. I see all.
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess in like the alternate universe where like Cobra Kai hasn't happened and you're on like some completely different project with like Ralph Macchio or William Zabka, would you have much of a knowledge of who they were, or would we just kind of vaguely recognize them from like some 80s film you had seen? Because obviously on Cobra Kai that it's a big deal who they are and that they're coming back to their old roles. But do you think you would have known as much if it was not related to
if
the
I was
Karate
like
Kid?
a different world, if I wasn't on Cobra Kai?
Yeah, like I mean, like you're on some random, hour-long drama with Ralph Macchio, and nothing to do with Karate Kid. Would you have known much about who he was?
I think I would have. It might have taken a second, because they're obviously older than when they were like on the original show. But like I had seen like Ralph Macchio being a bunch of different stuff, like My Cousin Vinny and The Outsiders and stuff like that. So I'm definitely like a fan of Ralph Macchio and the stuff he does. And same with William Zabka. Like I know both of them, and I actually also knew them from the cameo that they did on How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah.
Like William Zabka, he was in the entirety of the last season, I think.
Yeah.
Season 9. So I know him. I would have asked him about, Neil Patrick Harris and stuff like that. But yeah, I definitely would know them.
Yeah. And I suppose it's kind of looking again at Demetri as a character, because I know like he's had different interactions, he's had different friends in different groups, but is there anyone you want him to have more scenes with that he might not have had as much before?
I think I would want to see him in more scenes with Johnny, because we don't really get like too many scenes together, and who knows what happens in the next season. I can't really spoil anything. But yeah, really the only interactions we've had between Demetri and Johnny result in him getting flipped. And then with Kreese, him getting punched in the face. So he really has bad experiences with the senseis over at Cobra Kai. So maybe some more of that. But we'll see what happens later on down the road. I can't spoil anything, like I said, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, even though like Demetri's, I guess, getting better at karate at this point, him in a room alone with Kreese, I can't imagine him walking out of that okay.
No, I don't think Demetri is in a place where he could be locked in a room with Kreese. I think, no, that would not end well. He would be put in a body bag for sure.
Yeah. But I mean, that's his goal to reach for, like, just get up to, as far as being able to fight Kreese, and I guess we'll see what happens from there. But I suppose like speaking of him, is Martin Kove as intimidating in real life, or is he? Because you always hear people say like the villain or the guy who plays the villain, oh, so nice and so on and so forth. But like, does that apply here?
It's so okay. Marty Kove, like in real life, is a really sweet person. He's an amazing guy and he's a great actor. When he's playing the part of Kreese, he terrifies me.
Right.
Mostly because when I did the scene where he punches me in the face, like prior to that, I have my whole monologue where I'm talking and stuff like what I expect
Mm.
from the dojo. He's there the entire time. Like even when the camera's not on him, he's standing there to give me like something to look at, like a perspective. And he does not stop staring at me. I don't think he blinked the entire time. And when I had to actually go up to him, like Demetri, he's supposed to be oblivious to everything, right? Like he doesn't
Right.
realize
Yeah.
until it's too late. Me, on the other hand, I see the faces he's making, and yeah, he can be terrifying. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not ashamed to say that he scares me, but he's a sweet guy.
Yeah.
Just don't be in a scene with him
Right.
unless you value your life.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, for sure. I think, just make sure you catch him out of character and everything's
Yeah.
golden. Right.
Yeah. Just don't be with Kreese. Be with Marty, just not
Right.
Kreese. Yeah.
Yeah. And I suppose then outside of Cobra Kai, do you have any other projects coming up? Because obviously, we mentioned you're a series regular. That's a full-time thing. Have you had time for anything else?
Well, with COVID and everything like that, it's been a little rough because auditions and stuff like that are only just now starting to open up.
Right.
But now that there are starting to be more auditions and things like that, and there's like stuff that I want to work on my own. Who knows? We might see something in the future, but for now, just looking for the next thing. Yeah.
And I suppose, like on that note, then, like professionally or personally, what do you hope to accomplish with the rest of this year?
The rest of this year, I want to get into acting classes because I think you can never stop learning as an actor, so that's like a really big deal. And then I also kind of want to take piano classes, maybe start to explore the musical side of things. I don't think I'm the best singer in the world,
Right.
but who knows? Maybe I could get better. Maybe plunk out a few keys here and there.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I mean,
And then
who knows
also
what could
just
happen?
yeah. Sorry.
I was just saying, who knows what could happen?
Yeah, who knows what could happen? That's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. And then also maybe just increase my Magic the Gathering collection because you could never have too many cards, right?
Right.
Right, yeah. You can never. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. And I guess maybe then to like round this off, like what would you want to say like to the fans of Cobra Kai? And obviously you mentioned not wanting to spoil season 4, so I'll avoid anything about that. But just maybe it's like as an overall sentiment about the show and like the experience so far, like what would you want to say?
Just that it's been a really crazy ride. I've never really experienced anything like this, and I've never been a part of something with such an amazing fan base. Like, really, we wouldn't have a show without these guys. They're amazing, and I'm really appreciative and thankful to have them. And I can't spoil anything for the next season, but all I can say is it's worth the wait. And by the time you're done with this season, you're gonna want another season, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I have to say. That's all I can say.
Yeah, I guess to say at this point, all the best with Cobra Kai going forward with season 4 and your other ambitions. On just to say like thanks for taking the time and take care and stay safe.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for having me.